The great chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive ring of metal and light that orbited the peaceful world below. Inside, representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered in the Galactic Council chambers. Today they would witness a decision that would change everything. War Master Krenth stood at the center platform, his forearms spread wide in a gesture of dominance. His scales gleamed red under the lights, and his voice boomed across the chamber with absolute confidence. He represented the Vraxian hegemony, an empire that had conquered 200 worlds in the past 1,000 years. No one had ever stopped them. No one had even slowed them down. "We claim the system designated as Sol 3, Krenth announced. "The primitive species there will become part of our great empire. They have barely learned to travel between stars. They are weak. They are divided. They will fall in days." The council members stirred in their seats. Some nodded in approval. Others remained silent. A few looked worried. Archon Velithar, an elderly being who had served on the council for 3 centuries, rose slowly from his seat. His skin was pale blue, almost translucent, and his eyes held the weight of long experience. "War Master Krenth, our records show that Sol 3, which its inhabitants call Earth, is classified as a death world. Perhaps you should reconsider." Krenth laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the chamber. "A death world? We have conquered 12 death worlds already, Archon. What makes this one special?" Velithar touched a control panel, and a holographic display appeared above the center platform. Images of Earth filled the air. Massive storms that could flatten cities, earthquakes that split the ground open, volcanoes that turned day into night, oceans that could swallow mountains. "The humans evolved on this world," Velithar said quietly. "They survived conditions that would kill most species in the galaxy. Their planet tried to destroy them for millions of years, and they refused to die." Another council member spoke up. This was Commander Zix, a battle-scarred warrior from a species that valued military strength above all else. Even he looked concerned. "I have studied their history files. These humans have been at war with each other for their entire existence. They have created weapons that could destroy their own planet multiple times over. They have killed hundreds of millions of their own kind in conflicts that lasted years." Krenth waved a dismissive hand. "Primitive savages fighting with crude weapons. We have plasma cannons that can burn continents. We have shields that can withstand their strongest attacks. We have fought and defeated species far more advanced than these hairless apes." The council fell into debate. Some agreed with Krenth. Earth was not a member of the Galactic Council, so the Council's laws did not protect them. The non-interference treaty did not apply. If the Vraxians wanted to conquer Earth, they had every legal right to do so. Others voiced concerns. Earth had recently developed faster than light travel. They had established 3 small colonies on nearby worlds. They had even sent a representative to the Council, hoping to open diplomatic relations. Surely they deserved a chance to prove themselves as a civilized species. The debate continued for hours. Krenth grew impatient. His warriors waited in their ships, ready to begin the invasion. Every moment wasted here was a moment his glory was delayed. Finally, a human entered the chamber. Ambassador Sophia Chen walked calmly down the long pathway to the center platform. She was small compared to most species present, barely reaching the shoulders of the average council member. Her black hair was pulled back in a simple style, and she wore the dark blue uniform of Earth's United Nations Space Command. She had been on the council station for only 3 weeks, trying to negotiate Earth's admission to the galactic community. She had been patient, polite, and respectful. But now, as she looked up at War Master Krenth, her eyes were cold as ice. "Ambassador Chen," Archon Velithar said gently, "the Council has made its decision. We cannot interfere with the Vraxian claim on your world. I am truly sorry." Sophia looked around the chamber at the 1,000 faces watching her. Some looked sympathetic. Others looked curious. Many looked completely indifferent to the fate of her species. "I understand," she said, her voice clear and steady. "You have your laws and you must follow them." "I respect that," Krenth laughed again. "Wise words from a primitive. Perhaps I will allow you to serve my empire after we conquer your world. You seem smarter than most of your kind." Sophia turned to face him directly. She did not look afraid. She did not look angry. She looked at him the way a scientist might look at an interesting insect. "War Master Krenth," she said quietly, "I want you to understand something. My people do not want this war. We came here seeking peace and friendship. We wanted to learn from you, to join your galactic community to share what we know. And now you will learn your place, Krenth said smugly. Sophia continued as if he had not spoken. But if you attack Earth, we will defend ourselves. We will use every weapon we have. We will fight with everything we know. And we will not stop until either you are gone or we are all dead. Empty threats from a dying species, Krenth sneered. Not a threat, Sophia said. A warning. My people have been fighting each other for 10,000 years. We have perfected the art of war in ways you cannot imagine. We have created weapons so terrible that we banned ourselves from using them against each other. We have strategies and tactics born from millions of conflicts across our entire history. She paused, looking around the chamber one more time. You have conquered 200 worlds. That is impressive. But those worlds surrendered when they saw your strength. They chose to live under your rule rather than die fighting. Humans are different. We do not surrender. We do not stop. And we learn very, very quickly. Krenth's scales flushed a deeper red with anger. Then you will die very, very quickly. Sophia nodded slowly. Perhaps. But I promise you this, War Master. If you attack Earth, you will regret it. Every single ship you send, every single warrior you commit. You will wish you had listened to this warning. She turned and walked out of the chamber, her footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. Archon Valithar watched her go, a deep sadness in his ancient eyes. He had seen many wars in his long life. He had watched civilizations rise and fall, and something in the human ambassador's words filled him with dread. Krenth ordered his fleet to prepare for departure. 500 warships, the largest fleet the Vraxians had assembled in decades. It would be a glorious victory, he was certain. The Galactic Council could only watch as the fleet left for Earth. By their own laws, they could not intervene. They could only observe what would happen next. None of them knew they were about to witness something the galaxy had never seen before. None of them understood what humanity truly was, and none of them realized that Ambassador Chen's warning would prove to be the most accurate prophecy in galactic history. The observation deck of the Galactic Council station was crowded. Hundreds of council members and their staff had gathered to watch the invasion of Earth. Long-range quantum scanners projected a holographic display in the center of the room, showing the solar system in perfect detail. War Master Krenth's fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel near the orbit of Jupiter. 500 warships, each one a masterpiece of Vraxian military engineering. Their hulls gleamed with energy shields. Their weapons could reduce a city to ash in seconds. They had destroyed countless fleets before this day. On the Council observation deck, beings from 1,000 worlds watched in silence. Some felt sympathy for humanity. Others felt nothing at all. War was common in the galaxy, and weak species were conquered every year. This would be no different. Archon Valithar stood at the front of the crowd, his aged hands clasped behind his back. Next to him, Commander Zix watched with professional interest. Both had tried to warn the Vraxians. Both knew their warnings had been ignored. There, Zix said, pointing to the display. The human defense fleet. 47 ships appeared on the scanners, positioning themselves near the orbit of Mars. They were small compared to the Vraxian warships, cobbled together from converted cargo vessels, mining ships, and the few military craft humanity had built in the past 50 years. They looked pathetic against the might of the Vraxian fleet. It will be over in minutes, someone in the crowd said. They should surrender now, another voice added. At least some of them would survive. But the human ships did not retreat. They did not send surrender signals. They arranged themselves in a defensive formation and waited. Krenth's voice came through the communication channels, broadcast openly so all could hear his victory. Primitive humans, you are surrounded and outnumbered. Surrender your world and you will be spared. Resist and you will be destroyed. The human response came from Admiral James Hawking, commander of Earth's defense fleet. His voice was calm, almost bored. Negative, Vraxian fleet. You have entered our solar system without permission. You have threatened our homeworld. Leave now, or face the consequences. Laughter echoed from the Vraxian ships. Consequences? What could these primitives do? Then die, Krenth said, and gave the order to attack. The Vraxian fleet moved forward in perfect formation, a wall of death advancing toward the human ships. Their weapons charged, ready to unleash devastation. What happened next shocked every observer on the council station. The human ships did not try to match the Vraxian formation. They did not attempt a traditional space battle. Instead, they scattered in all directions, moving with desperate speed. Then they started ramming. 3 human ships, their engines burning at maximum power, crashed directly into the lead Vraxian vessels. The collisions destroyed both the human ships and their targets in massive explosions. The Vraxian shields, designed to absorb energy weapons, offered little protection against several thousand tons of metal and fuel moving at incredible speed. Madness, someone on the observation deck whispered. They are killing themselves. But the human ships kept coming. Another 2 vessels rammed into Vraxian cruisers, destroying them both. The Vraxian formation broke apart as ships tried to avoid the suicidal attacks. Then the humans revealed their other weapons. Thousands of missiles launched from the remaining human ships. But these were not normal missiles. They were simple kinetic kill vehicles, chunks of dense metal accelerated to extreme speeds. They were cheap to make and deadly on impact. The Vraxian shields, calibrated for laser and plasma weapons, could not stop them effectively. Dozens of Vraxian ships took damage. Their hulls cracked and split under the kinetic impacts. Some lost propulsion, others lost life support. They are using banned weapons, a council member said in horror. Kinetic bombardment is against galactic warfare conventions. Earth never signed those conventions, Velithar said quietly. They are not bound by our rules of civilized warfare. The battle continued. Human ships used tactics that no civilized species would employ. They hid behind asteroids and ambushed Vraxian vessels. They detonated their own reactors when surrounded, taking enemy ships with them. They fired nuclear weapons, pumping the radiation into laser beams that cut through Vraxian armor. One human ship, already crippled and venting atmosphere, used its last moments to position itself between an enemy cruiser and a Vraxian battleship. When both Vraxian ships fired, trying to finish off the human vessel, their weapons hit each other instead. The Vraxian fleet had expected a quick victory. They had expected the humans to fight honorably, to follow the accepted rules of space warfare. They had expected to win. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that had no honor, no rules, and no mercy. The humans fought like animals, like cornered predators that would rather die than surrender. After 6 hours of brutal combat, War Master Krenth ordered a retreat. His fleet had lost 150 ships. The humans had lost 40 of their original 47 vessels. By any traditional measure, the humans had lost. They had fewer ships remaining. They had suffered greater casualties in absolute numbers, but the Vraxian fleet was in chaos. They had never faced such vicious resistance. They had never seen an enemy so willing to sacrifice everything for victory. On the council observation deck, silence reigned. No one spoke. No one moved. They had just witnessed something that challenged everything they understood about warfare. Finally, Ambassador Sophia Chen entered the observation deck. She had been on Earth during the battle, coordinating with military command. Now she stood before the assembled council members, her uniform clean and her expression neutral. Ambassador Chen, Archon Velithar said softly, "Your losses were severe." "Yes," Sophia agreed. "We lost good people today, brave people who gave their lives defending Earth. The Vraxians will return," Commander Zik said. "They will bring more ships." "Many more, we know," Sophia said. "We are preparing for that." A council member from a species known for their logical thinking stepped forward. "Ambassador, your tactics were barbaric. You used weapons banned by Galactic Convention. You employed suicide attacks. You showed no regard for the accepted rules of warfare." Sophia looked at the council member with those same cold eyes she had shown Krenth days before. "We tried to warn you. We tried to tell you that humans do not fight like other species. We have been at war with each other for 10,000 years. We have killed millions of our own kind learning how to survive." She gestured to the holographic display, where wreckage from both fleets still floated in the darkness. "You have rules for warfare because you value honor and civilization. We value survival. When someone threatens Earth, when someone tries to destroy our home, we will use every weapon we have, every tactic we know, every advantage we can create." "But you lost," another council member said. "You have only 7 ships remaining." "The Vraxians have 350. Sophia smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. "We have 7 ships remaining here. But we also have something else now." "What?" Velithar asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. "We disabled 12 Vraxian ships instead of destroying them," Sophia said. "We boarded them. We studied them. And we took their technology. Shocked murmurs ran through the crowd. Boarding enemy ships during battle? Taking technology from disabled vessels? These were not things civilized species did. In the past 6 hours, Sophia continued, our engineers have learned more about Vraxian shield systems, weapons, and faster-than-light drives than we learned in the past 50 years of our own research. We are already incorporating this knowledge into our designs. She looked around the observation deck at the hundreds of faces staring at her in disbelief and horror. The Vraxians made a mistake when they attacked Earth, she said quietly. They thought we were weak because we are young. They thought we would surrender because we are primitive. They were wrong. And now they have given us the tools to become stronger. Sophia turned and left the observation deck, leaving the council members to contemplate what they had just witnessed. Archon Velithar watched her go, then looked at Commander Zix. What have we unleashed? He asked. Zix, who had seen more battles than most beings in the galaxy, shook his head slowly. Something terrible, he said. The humans do not fight to conquer. They fight to survive. And species that fight for survival do not stop until either they win or they are extinct. In the holographic display, the remaining human ships were already moving, not retreating to Earth to lick their wounds, not waiting for the Vraxians to attack again. They were salvaging every piece of technology they could from the battlefield, learning from their enemy even as their own dead floated in the darkness. The Galactic Council watched in silence, and for the first time in centuries, many of them felt something they had forgotten. They felt fear. 3 weeks had passed since the first battle. The Galactic Council expected Earth to surrender. Every species in known history had surrendered after such devastating losses. It was the logical thing to do, the civilized thing to do. Humanity did not surrender. On the Council observation deck, Archon Velithar watched the quantum scanners with growing disbelief. What he saw should have been impossible. They are building, he said softly. Commander Zix stood beside him, studying the data with professional interest. Not just building. They are transforming their entire civilization into a war machine. The scanner showed Earth and its colonies working at a pace that defied reason. Every factory, every shipyard, every manufacturing facility had been converted to military production. Civilian cargo ships were being stripped down and rebuilt as warships. Mining vessels were being fitted with weapons. Even passenger transports were being turned into troop carriers. They have increased their ship count from 7 to 73, Zix said, in 3 weeks. The quality must be poor, another council member said. Ships built so quickly cannot be effective. Look closer, Velithar said, touching a control to zoom in on one of the new human ships. They are not trying to match Vraxian technology. They are building cheap, fast vessels that can be produced in large numbers, quantity over quality. On the other side of the solar system, War Master Krenth prepared his response. His pride was wounded. His reputation was damaged. The entire galaxy was watching to see how he would crush this primitive species that dared to resist. He had called for reinforcements. His fleet now numbered 2,000 warships, the largest invasion force the Vraxian hegemony had assembled in centuries. There would be no mercy this time, no prisoners. Earth would burn. They will be overwhelmed, Krenth told his officers. No matter how many crude ships they build, they cannot stand against our might. His fleet moved forward, advancing toward Earth with unstoppable confidence. The Council watched as the two forces approached each other near Earth's moon. The Vraxian fleet was a wall of destruction, their shields glowing with power, their weapons charged and ready. The human fleet moved to intercept, 73 ships against 2,000. It should have been a massacre. Then something strange appeared on the scanners, thousands of small signatures too small to be ships, swarming around the human vessels like insects. What are those? Someone on the observation deck asked. Drones, Commander Zix said, leaning forward to study the display. Unmanned combat drones. The truth became clear as the battle began. Humanity had not just built ships in the past 3 weeks. They had converted their entire industrial capacity into a drone factory. Millions of small, cheap combat drones now filled the space around their ships. Each drone was barely more than a rocket engine, a simple computer, and an explosive payload. They cost almost nothing to build. They required no life support. They had no shields and minimal armor, but there were millions of them. The Vraxian fleet opened fire, their powerful weapons destroying drones by the hundreds. Energy beams cut through swarms of them. Missiles detonated, taking out dozens at a time. It did not matter. For every drone destroyed, 2 more took its place. The drones attacked in waves, crashing into Vraxian ships by the thousands. Each explosion was small, barely enough to scratch the shields. But thousands of small explosions added up. Vraxian shields began to flicker and fail under the constant bombardment. "Impossible," Krenth growled, watching his displays in disbelief. "Where are they all coming from?" The answer was simple and terrifying. Every factory on Earth, every manufacturing facility on the human colonies, every 3D printer and assembly line had been converted to produce these drones. Humanity was printing weapons faster than the Vraxians could destroy them. And behind the swarms of drones, the human ships employed the same vicious tactics they had used in the first battle. They targeted Vraxian life support systems. They used damaged ships as shields. They detonated nuclear weapons in the middle of enemy formations. One human captain, her ship crippled and surrounded, did not try to escape. Instead, she accelerated directly into a Vraxian battleship, her engines burning at maximum power. The collision destroyed both vessels, but it also created a debris field that damaged a dozen nearby Vraxian ships. On Earth, millions of volunteers sat at control stations, each one piloting multiple drones remotely. They were civilian volunteers, people with no military training. Gamers, engineers, students, retirees. Anyone who could operate a computer interface was given control of combat drones. When their drones were destroyed, they simply took control of new ones. The stream was endless. The Vraxian fleet designed for traditional space warfare had no defense against this strategy. Their powerful weapons were useless against such small, numerous targets. Their shields could not withstand the constant attacks. Their tactical computers, programmed for civilized warfare, could not predict the chaotic movements of millions of drones. After 8 hours of combat, War Master Krenth ordered another retreat. His fleet had lost 800 ships. The humans had lost 45 vessels and approximately 3 million drones, but humanity was already building more drones. The production never stopped. Factories worked around the clock, assembly lines moving at maximum speed, materials being harvested and processed and turned into weapons as fast as physically possible. On the Council observation deck, silence had become the normal state. No one knew what to say anymore. What they were witnessing should not be possible. "They are not fighting a war," Velither said quietly. "They are fighting for survival, and they will sacrifice everything for it." A council member from a peaceful species, one that had never known war, spoke up with confusion in her voice. "But why? Why do they not surrender? Why do they continue to throw away lives when defeat is inevitable?" Commander Zix answered before Velithar could. "Because for humans, surrender is not an option. I have studied their history files extensively over the past 3 weeks. Do you know what I learned?" The council members waited. "Humans have a saying," Zix continued. "They say, 'We will fight them on the beaches, we will fight them on the landing grounds, we will fight in the fields and in the streets, we will fight in the hills. We will never surrender.' These are not just words to them. This is how they think. This is how they survive." He gestured to the holographic display where human ships were already moving to salvage Vraxian technology from the battlefield. "Look at them. They just lost 45 ships and millions of drones. But they are not mourning. They are not afraid. They are learning. They are adapting. They are taking our technology and making it their own." Another council member, this one from a species with a strong military tradition, spoke up. "But they are still losing. The Vraxians can bring more ships. Eventually, Earth will run out of resources, will they?" Velithar asked. "Look at the mining operations in their asteroid belt. Look at the industrial facilities on their colonies. They are extracting resources at a rate that should be impossible. They are working their population to exhaustion, sacrificing comfort and safety for production." He paused, his ancient eyes sad. Most civilized species would collapse under such strain. Populations would rebel. Governments would fall. But humans are different. They are united by fear and anger and determination. Every loss makes them fight harder. Every death makes them more desperate. Ambassador Sophia Chen entered the observation deck. She looked exhausted, her uniform rumpled, dark circles under her eyes. She had not slept more than a few hours in the past 3 weeks. "Ambassador," Velithar said gently. Your people fought well today. We lost good people, Sophia said, her voice flat with exhaustion. But we also learned valuable lessons. The Vraxian fleet is powerful, but it is designed for traditional warfare. We are adapting our tactics to exploit their weaknesses. You cannot win, a council member said bluntly. The mathematics are against you. The Vraxians can field 5,000 ships if needed. Eventually you will be overwhelmed. Sophia looked at the council member with eyes that had seen too much death in too short a time. You are thinking like a civilized species, she said. You are thinking about acceptable losses and strategic value and cost-benefit analysis. She gestured to the holographic display, where her people's ships moved among the wreckage, salvaging and learning and preparing for the next battle. We are not thinking about winning in a traditional sense. We are thinking about making the cost so high that the Vraxians decide we are not worth conquering. We are thinking about survival at any price, and we are thinking about what we will do to them if they do not stop. A chill ran through the observation deck. The assembled council members, beings from 1,000 worlds, suddenly understood something terrible. Humanity was not fighting to win. They were fighting to make sure that if they died, they would take their enemies with them. They were fighting with the desperation of a species that had nothing left to lose, and they were just getting started. War Master Krenth, on his flagship in the outer solar system, stared at his casualty reports and felt something he had never experienced in 2 centuries of warfare. He felt doubt. His officers assured him that Earth would fall. More ships were coming. More warriors were ready. Victory was certain. But Krenth remembered Ambassador Chen's warning, spoken in the council chambers what felt like a lifetime ago. You will regret it, she had said. For the first time in his long military career, War Master Krenth wondered if he had made a terrible mistake. 2 months had passed since the Vraxian invasion began. The Galactic Council had watched 3 major battles, each one more brutal than the last. The Vraxians had lost over 1,500 ships. Humanity had lost hundreds of vessels and countless drones. Everyone expected the next Vraxian attack. What no one expected was what actually happened. The council observation deck erupted in chaos as alarms sounded across the holographic displays. Multiple emergency signals came in simultaneously from 3 different Vraxian border systems. What is happening? Archon Velithar demanded. The displays shifted, showing 3 Vraxian colony worlds far from Earth. Human ships had appeared in all 3 systems at once, moving faster than should have been possible with the technology Earth possessed just months ago. They reverse-engineered our faster-than-light drives, Commander Zik said, his voice filled with professional admiration and horror, and they improved them. The human fleet had split into 3 attack groups. Each group contained 50 ships, small by Vraxian standards but equipped with technology stolen and adapted from captured Vraxian vessels. The humans had learned fast, taking Vraxian innovations and combining them with their own brutal efficiency. But the humans were not attacking population centers. They were not bombarding cities or threatening civilians. They were destroying infrastructure. Power stations exploded under kinetic bombardment. Communication satellites were reduced to debris. Supply depots burned. Orbital shipyards, half filled with Vraxian warships under construction, were torn apart by missile strikes. The Vraxian defenders, expecting to protect their civilians, found themselves fighting an enemy that ignored traditional military targets. The humans hit supply lines, destroyed manufacturing facilities, and crippled the logistical networks that kept the Vraxian military functioning. Within hours, 3 Vraxian border systems were in chaos. No civilians had been killed, but the military infrastructure was devastated. Then the human ships disappeared, jumping back into faster-than-light travel before Vraxian reinforcements could arrive. On the council observation deck, shocked silence reigned. Humanity had just demonstrated something terrifying. They were no longer defending. They were attacking. War Master Krenth's voice came through the communication channels broadcasting to the council. His tone had lost its confidence, replaced by barely controlled rage. The humans dare to attack our territory? They will pay for this insult with their lives. I am calling for reinforcements from our core worlds. We will crush them completely. But before he could finish, another alarm sounded. Human ships had appeared in 2 more Vraxian systems. The attacks continued with the same pattern. Infrastructure destroyed, supply lines cut. No civilian casualties, but maximum military disruption. How are they doing this? A council member asked in disbelief. How can they coordinate attacks across such distances? They learned from us, Zik said grimly. They studied our communication systems, our tactical networks, our coordination protocols. And they are using them better than we do. Something else was happening too. The Vraxian client species, worlds that had been conquered and forced into the hegemony, were starting to rebel. News of humanity's resistance had spread. Stories of a small species fighting back against the mighty Vraxians inspired hope. On 3 client worlds, uprisings began. Local populations attacked Vraxian garrison forces. They sabotaged military installations. They disrupted supply chains. The Vraxian hegemony, which had seemed unstoppable, was suddenly fighting on multiple fronts. The council held an emergency session. Hundreds of representatives gathered, their voices filling the chamber with debate and argument. The humans must be stopped, one council member declared. They are destabilizing the entire region. The Vraxians started this war, another countered. Earth was simply defending itself. This is no longer defense, a third voice said. The humans are conducting offensive operations in foreign territory. They are encouraging rebellion among Vraxian client species. This could spread across the galaxy. Archon Valithar stood at his podium, his aged face lined with worry. We must intervene, not to stop the humans, but to stop this war before it spreads further. The debate raged for hours. Some species supported humanity's right to defend itself. Others feared the precedent being set. If a young species could resist the Vraxians so effectively, what did that mean for the established order of the galaxy? Ambassador Sophia Chen was called before the council. She entered the chamber looking even more exhausted than before, but her eyes were sharp and alert. Ambassador Chen, Velithar said formally, your people have begun offensive operations against Vraxian territory. This represents an escalation that concerns the council greatly. With respect, Archon, Sophia replied, the Vraxians invaded our system with 2,000 warships. They attempted to conquer our homeworld. We are simply ensuring they cannot do so again. By attacking their territory? Another council member demanded. By attacking their ability to make war, Sophia corrected. We are not killing civilians. We are not occupying worlds. We are dismantling the military infrastructure that threatens Earth. War Master Krenth's holographic image appeared in the chamber, his scaled face twisted with rage. The humans speak of defense while they attack our worlds. They speak of peace while they encourage rebellion among our subjects. They must be destroyed. Sophia turned to face his image calmly. We gave you a warning, War Master. We told you to turn back. You chose to ignore that warning. You chose this war. Now you will see what humanity is truly capable of. Your world will burn, Krenth snarled. Perhaps, Sophia said quietly, but we will make sure yours burns first. She touched a control on her datapad, and a new display appeared in the council chamber. It showed a small human strike team, Special Forces soldiers wearing advanced combat armor. They were inside a Vraxian facility. This footage was recorded 3 hours ago, Sophia said, on the Vraxian homeworld. Shocked gasps ran through the council. Human soldiers had infiltrated the Vraxian homeworld? That should have been impossible. The security there was absolute. We did not attack your civilians, War Master, Sophia continued. We did not plant bombs or attempt assassination. We simply accessed your planetary communication network and broadcast the truth to your population. The display showed Vraxian civilians watching screens in public spaces. They were seeing casualty reports, battle footage, and strategic assessments. All the information that their government had been hiding from them. For months, the Vraxian government had told its people that the war with Earth was going well. That victory was certain. That human resistance was minimal. Now the truth was revealed. The Vraxian population learned that over 2,000 of their warships had been destroyed, that their military was suffering losses unprecedented in their history, that a primitive species was defeating them. Riots broke out in the Vraxian capital city. Protests erupted on a dozen Vraxian worlds. The population demanded answers. They demanded to know why so many of their warriors had died fighting a species that should have surrendered immediately. The Vraxian government was forced to divert ships from the war effort to maintain order at home. This is terrorism, Krenth shouted. This is a violation of all civilized norms. This is information, Sophia said calmly. We simply told your people the truth. If the truth destabilizes your government, perhaps your government deserves to be destabilized. She looked around the council chamber at the assembled representatives. We will present our terms for peace one time. Listen carefully, because we will not repeat them. The chamber fell silent. Every being present leaned forward to hear. First, Sophia said, the Vraxians will recognize Earth's sovereignty and establish a 50-light-year exclusion zone around our system. No Vraxian ship will enter this zone without permission. Never, Krenth said. Sophia continued as if he had not spoken. Second, the Vraxians will pay reparations for the damage they have caused. Technology, resources, and assistance in building our infrastructure. Absurd, Krenth snarled. Third, Sophia said, her voice hardening, the Vraxians will grant independence to all their client species. The conquered worlds will be free to choose their own destiny. The council chamber erupted in debate. The demands were extreme. The Vraxians would never accept them. It would mean the end of their empire. And if we refuse? Krenth asked, his voice cold. Sophia looked directly at his holographic image. Then we will continue this war. We will attack your supply lines, destroy your infrastructure, and support every rebellion on every world you control. We will make it cost you more to fight us than your empire can afford. You cannot win, Krenth said. We do not need to win, Sophia replied. We just need to make sure you lose, and we are very good at making our enemies lose. She paused, letting her words sink in. You came to conquer Earth because you thought we were weak. You thought we would surrender. You were wrong. And every day you continue this war, we will show you exactly how wrong you were. Sophia turned and walked out of the council chamber, leaving shocked silence in her wake. Archon Velithar watched her go, then looked at the assembled council members. We are witnessing something unprecedented, he said quietly. A young species is not just defending itself. It is forcing an empire to reconsider its entire existence. Commander Zix nodded slowly. The humans have learned the most important lesson of warfare. Victory is not about destroying your enemy completely. It is about making your enemy decide that continuing to fight is not worth the cost. On his flagship, War Master Krenth stared at casualty reports and strategic assessments. His officers waited for orders. His warriors waited to continue the fight. But for the first time in his long military career, Krenth wondered if victory was possible. He wondered if humanity's warning had been right all along, and he wondered what would happen next because he was certain of one thing: the humans were not finished. They were just getting started. 6 months after the invasion began, the war ended, not with a final battle or a dramatic confrontation, but with a quiet surrender that shocked the entire galaxy. The Vraxian government collapsed under the weight of internal pressure, military losses, and economic strain. New leadership took control. Politicians who had opposed the war from the beginning. Their first act was to request peace negotiations with Earth. The negotiations took place on the Galactic Council Station, in a chamber designed for treaty signings. Representatives from both sides sat across from each other, separated by a simple table and an enormous gulf of history. The new Vraxian leadership, led by diplomat Vexen, looked nothing like the proud warriors who had begun this war. They looked tired and defeated, their scales dull with shame. Ambassador Sophia Chen sat across from them, flanked by Admiral James Hawking and a team of human diplomats. She looked professional and calm, but anyone who knew her could see the steel in her eyes. The terms, Vexen said quietly, sliding a datapad across the table. We accept them all. Sophia picked up the datapad and reviewed it carefully. Recognition of Earth's sovereignty, a 50-light-year exclusion zone, technology transfers and resource payments as reparations, independence for all Vraxian client species, everything humanity had demanded. There is one addition, Vexen said. The Vraxian hegemony will provide military assistance in building Earth's defense infrastructure. We will help train your forces in advanced combat techniques. We will share tactical knowledge freely. Sophia looked up from the datapad, her expression neutral. Why would you offer this? The treaty does not require it. Vexen's translator struggled to convey the emotion in his voice. Because we have learned a terrible lesson, Ambassador Chen. We learned that humanity is far more dangerous than we imagined. We learned that your species does not fight for conquest or glory. You fight for survival, and you will sacrifice everything to ensure that survival. He paused, his eyes meeting Sophia's. We also learned that if we ever face a threat that we cannot handle alone, humanity might be the only species willing to do what is necessary to stop it. We would rather have you as allies than enemies. The treaty was signed that day. The Vraxian fleet withdrew from human space. The client species were granted independence, though many chose to maintain friendly relations with their former rulers. The galaxy watched and learned. 3 weeks later, the Galactic Council held a special session. The chamber was packed with representatives eager to witness history. The matter before the council, Archon Velithar announced, is the application of Earth for membership in the Galactic Council. All in favor? The vote was unanimous. Every single council member voted to accept humanity. But as Sophia walked to the center platform to accept Earth's membership, she could see the truth in their faces. They were not voting out of respect or friendship. They were voting out of fear. They had watched humanity fight a war that should have been impossible to win. They had seen a young species adapt and learn and innovate at a speed that defied all understanding. They had witnessed humans employ tactics so brutal that civilized species would never consider them, and they wanted humanity inside the council, bound by its laws and treaties rather than outside where they could not be controlled. Sophia understood this. She had always understood it. But she also knew that Earth needed allies and trading partners and diplomatic relationships. The council membership would give humanity access to technology and knowledge that would take centuries to develop on their own. On behalf of the people of Earth, Sophia said formally, I accept this membership with gratitude and hope for peaceful cooperation with all species in the galaxy. The council members applauded politely. Sophia returned to her seat, now officially representing a council member species. After the ceremony, Archon Velithar approached her privately. Ambassador Chen, may I speak with you? Of course, Archon. They walked to a viewing port that looked out over the stars. For a long moment, neither spoke. You frightened them, Velithar said finally. You frightened all of us. I know, Sophia said quietly. Do you understand what you have done? What humanity has become in the eyes of the galaxy? Sophia looked at the reflection in the viewport, seeing not just herself but the ghost of every human who had died in the war. We became what we needed to become to survive. You became a warning, Velithar said. Every species in the galaxy now knows that Earth is not to be threatened. They know that humanity will fight with a ferocity that civilized beings cannot match. They know that you will sacrifice everything, learn everything, and adapt everything to ensure your survival. Is that a bad thing? Sophia asked. Velithar considered carefully. That depends on what humanity does with that reputation. You could become conquerors using fear to expand your territory, or you could become protectors using your strength to defend others. We never wanted this war, Sophia said. We wanted peace. We wanted to explore and learn and make friends among the stars. But you were very good at war, Velithar observed. Yes, Sophia admitted. We were, because we have been practicing for 10,000 years. 5 years passed. The galaxy changed in ways no one expected. Humanity became the Galactic Council's rapid response military force. When pirates threatened trade routes, human ships dealt with them efficiently and brutally. When territorial disputes threatened to become wars, human negotiators reminded both sides what humanity was capable of, and suddenly compromise seemed much more attractive. Species that had been aggressive found themselves becoming peaceful. Species that had considered expansion found themselves satisfied with their current territories. The presence of humanity and the memory of what they had done to the Vraxians kept the galaxy remarkably stable. Earth grew wealthy from its new role. Other species paid handsomely for human protection services. Technology flowed into human space. The colonies expanded. Humanity spread across dozens of star systems, building and growing and thriving. The human accords were established, a set of warfare rules that humanity agreed to follow when dealing with other council species. They were less restrictive than the standard galactic conventions, allowing humanity to maintain its tactical advantages while still being part of civilized society. But everyone knew the truth. If humanity was truly threatened again, if another species made the mistake of attacking Earth, those accords would be forgotten. Humanity would once again become the terrifying species that had destroyed the Vraxian hegemony. Ambassador Sophia Chen, now High Admiral Sophia Chen, stood on the bridge of the UNS Defiance, humanity's first purpose-built flagship. She was older now, her hair touched with gray, but her eyes still held that same cold determination. "Admiral," her communications officer said, "we are receiving a message from an unknown species. They have just discovered Earth through their exploration efforts." Sophia felt a familiar tension. "Put it through." The alien appeared on screen, a being unlike any humanity had encountered before. Its translator worked slowly, processing its language. "We are the Korath Dominion," the alien said. "We have discovered your world and find it suitable for our needs. You will evacuate your population to other colonies. We will begin terraforming operations within one of your standard months." Silence filled the bridge. Every human officer stared at the screen in disbelief. After everything that had happened, after all the galaxy had learned, this species was making the same mistake the Vraxians had made. Sophia took a deep breath, feeling tired and sad. "Do you know who we are?" "Irrelevant," the Korath said. "You are a young species with limited territory. We are offering you the chance to leave peacefully. Consider it generous." Before Sophia could respond, another communication channel opened. It was from the Vraxian government. "Admiral Chen," Vexen's voice said, "we intercepted the Korath transmission. Please allow us to handle this." "Stand by," Sophia told both channels. She muted the Korath and spoke to Vexen. "What do you want to do?" "We want to save the Korath from making a fatal mistake," Vexen said. "We have sent them detailed files on the human-Vraxian war. Battle footage, casualty reports, tactical analyses, everything." Sophia waited. On her screen, she could see the Korath representative receiving data. Its expression changed as it reviewed the files. Confidence became concern. Concern became shock. Shock became terror. The Korath stammered, "We did not know. We did not understand. We withdraw our claim immediately. Please accept our apologies. We meant no disrespect to humanity." The communication cut off abruptly. Scanners showed the Korath ships turning away from Earth at maximum speed. Sophia unmuted the channel to Vexen. "Thank you for the assistance." "It was necessary," Vexen said. "The galaxy must remember what happens when Earth is threatened. Some species need to learn from the mistakes of others rather than making those mistakes themselves." The communication ended. Sophia's officers relaxed, smiling at the Korath's hasty retreat. But Sophia did not smile. She looked out at the stars and thought about what humanity had become. They were respected throughout the galaxy. They were feared by every potential enemy. They had achieved a level of security and prosperity that seemed impossible just 5 years ago. But they were also alone in a way they had never been before. Other species were friendly but cautious, never forgetting what humanity was capable of when threatened. "Admiral," her first officer said quietly, "was it worth it?" Sophia considered the question carefully. She thought about the thousands who had died in the war. She thought about the civilization that had been transformed from peaceful explorers into galactic enforcers. She thought about the reputation humanity now carried. A reputation built on violence and determination, and the willingness to sacrifice everything. "Yes," she said finally. "We survived. That is always worth it." In the Galactic Council chambers, a new species was presenting their application for membership. They were young and optimistic, eager to join the galactic community. Archon Velithar, still serving after all these years, smiled at their enthusiasm. But he also added a new requirement to their orientation materials. Every new member species now received a complete historical file on humanity and the human-Vraxian war. The file was titled "A Warning and a Lesson." The lesson was simple. In the vast galaxy filled with thousands of species and millions of worlds, there was one species that should never be threatened. One world that should never be attacked. One civilization that would sacrifice everything to ensure its survival. That species was humanity. That world was Earth, and the galaxy would never forget. Commander Zix, now retired and teaching military history at a prestigious academy, always ended his lectures on the human-Vraxian war with the same words. "Remember this above all else. Humans do not fight to conquer. They do not fight for glory. They fight to survive. And when a species fights for survival, they become the most dangerous force in the universe. If you ever encounter humanity, be very careful, be respectful, and whatever you do, do not threaten their homeworld." His students, beings from a dozen different species, always asked the same question. But surely some species could defeat them if they tried hard enough. Zix would smile sadly and shake his head. You could destroy Earth, you could kill every human in the galaxy. But in the process of doing so, you would pay such a terrible price that your own civilization would fall. That is the human guarantee. If they die, they will take you with them. And that, he would conclude, is why humanity is the most terrifying species in the galaxy. Not because they cannot be beaten, but because they ensure that beating them is never worth the cost. Across the stars, humanity continued to grow and thrive. They explored new worlds, made new discoveries, and built new relationships. They were part of the galactic community now, contributing their knowledge and receiving knowledge in return. But every human ship still carried weapons. Every human colony still maintained defenses. And every human child still learned the history of the Vraxian War and the price that had been paid for Earth's survival. They would never forget who they were. They would never forget what they were capable of. And they would never stop being ready to defend their home. In the darkness of space, among the countless stars of the galaxy, one word had taken on a new meaning. A word that made aggressive species reconsider their plans. A word that brought peace through the promise of terrible violence. That word was simple: human.